see what Caleb is capable of here with this 4-color reservoir deck, as they're being given the green light. Now, Weidinger is playing something very kind of normalized here in Black White Eldrazi. We have seen this before. We'll probably see it again. For Caleb's deck, he's going to start things off with a copy of Blooming Marsh, as Weidinger is going to start off with just a Forsaken Sanctuary. This is an island, so the Sultai mana base is online. Here is the Contraband Kingpin, first card we're going to bring up.
And Weidinger is going to be doing a lot of the same thing that we're doing.
Going to be reading some new cards. So the Kingpin is a blue-black 1/4. It has lifelink, and whenever an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you get to scry 1. Pretty good for your life gain strategy.
Now, if Scherer's deck is any good at all, this should be a pretty solid matchup. With the exception of Distended Mindbender, which is a lot of disruption, there isn't a whole lot of way of disruption on Weidinger's side, and his clock is slow. So this should be a solid matchup for Scherer.
Declaration in Stone will take care of that Contraband Kingpin. For Caleb, he's going to follow up with another Contraband Kingpin. This is another copy of a Blooming Marsh. Any follow-ups here for Caleb? He's got a Pilgrim's Eye. It looks like he also has a Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot in his hand. For Weidinger, another copy of Blighted Fen. I suppose that's not so bad in this spot because he's more of an Eldrazi deck.
Yeah. I mean, the second one's maybe a little rough on his mana, but first one's fine.
Pilgrim's Eye is going to try to fix some things here. Swamp is the land that Christopher will search up, and we're going to head back Caleb's way.
4X Aether Hub, obviously fantastic for an Eldrazi strategy.
Yes. The hub is a delight. We'll see where Caleb wants to follow up now. Kind of got free reign to do whatever he wants to this turn. He'll start by attacking with the Contraband King. In for 1. Weidinger going to fall down to 19. Scherer going to go up to 21. Now, another card we're going to have to get ready here. It looks like it's Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot. 2 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you draw a card and you lose a life. But then Caleb is going to scry, of course. And now, he gets his card. There's an island. This is a Glint. Make sure I get it right. Glint Nest Crane. Can look at the top couple of cards. Get himself a Prophetic Prism. The Crane, when it enters the battlefield, you get to look at the top 4 cards of your library. You can reveal an artifact card from among them, put it into your hand. The rest go onto the bottom of the library in any order.
This has been some delightful tire spinning thus far from Scherer.
Have you enjoyed that? It's a good way to try to find the Aetherflux Reservoir, that's for sure. Swamp there for Chris. Does he have a card like Thought Knots here to play? The answer is yes. There will be a trigger. Caleb, let's see your hand. Here is the hand. Prophetic Prism.
I see what he's up to. Okay, it took me a minute here. Okay, so he's got 4 copies of Paradoxical Outcome. Okay, so that's kind of the big one here. 3 and a blue. Return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hand. Draw a card for each returned to your hand this way. So he's trying to return all those artifacts and then recast them and draw some cards along the way.
Right.
Got
He has a lot of cantrips, a lot of cheap nonsense, so he can gas up and then hopefully go the next turn. Or the next 2 turns. I don't know.
Couple turns.
Several turns.
Some number of turns.
It's a long con.
Yeah.
That's just step 1.
Will it be Prophetic Prism here for Scherer? It will. We'll take a look at the Contraband Kingpin one more time as well. Prism is a card. It's been printed before, so I'm sure most people are familiar with this. But again, when an artifact enters the battlefield under your control, you get to scry 1, and then this has lifelink. So the scrying is taking place now because of the Prism, and now Caleb will draw a card from the Prism's trigger. Next up is the Cracking of a Clue. So that'll draw Scherer another card. Now he does have to play, I guess, what many would consider some stinkers here in his deck. I believe that is Cathar's Shield.
Bonesaw as the leftovers?
Yeah. People would consider these to be stinkers. Here's the shield. Equipped creature gets +0/+3 and has vigilance. The land for the turn is the Botanical Sanctum.
Can't even give my man an ornithopter to work with.
No, no, they couldn't.
That
They
would be
couldn't,
even worse.
they couldn't hook him up with an ornithopter. It's real sad. Weidinger with a Kalidas. Here come the beatdowns. However, his clock is pretty slow, all things considered.
Oh, this is why I think, again, with the caveat that Scherer's deck has to be reasonable. Not sure if we're at the point to make that kind of call just yet. But if it is, this has got to be a solid matchup. Weidinger's attacking very slowly, and you can see Scherer's kind of gumming up the works here with some reasonable chump blockers. In fact, he can move the shield onto one of his stinkers and then have a good blocker. Didn't even do that.
Ah, yes, the crane.
So very slow clock on the other side here, and Scherer's got a lot of time to do whatever it is he's doing.
And now he's found the reservoir.
Okay.
So he'll play a land. Will he deploy the reservoir? It looks like he will. All right. We got a little something brewing here.
I think this game is shaping up very well for him, in my opinion.
I think so now, yeah.
Yeah. He's got a lot of life and a lot of blockers to work with. He gets to look at a lot of cards.
He gets to scry. Because
Yep,
he just
a
played
lot
that
of scry.
artifact. Yep.
And if he draws the paradoxical outcome, he just goes.
Yeah, he just gets to go nuts. Well, I guess Crusher Tentacles is now too.
Sure.
So, okay.
Need to leave that bone saw in the chamber. Anyone who's played a lot of Battle for Zendikar Seal Leagues knows what I'm talking about. Got to leave that one left over.
No, I think you know. I think you know what you're talking about. With
Been around the
Bonesaw.
block a few times.
I think you're just excited to say Bonesaw a bunch.
Is it ready?
Yeah, just admit it.
Is bone saw ready?
So there is the Bonesaw. Scry the top card to the bottom. Passing, yes.
And I like Scherer trying to get his hand empty here against a deck with Thought-Knot Seer, likely Distended Mindbender as well.
Yeah.
Play off the top as much as you can. He's got cantrips that he can trigger at the end of Weidinger's turn to gas up and try to go. And with what he's got in play, the amount of life that he's gaining, he can also just kind of let things occur naturally. He can just draw cards, cast the stuff as it comes up, and if he ever finds one of his big hits, then he just goes.
Beatdowns. Pilgrim's Eye, little coward.
Coward.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't attack with it, but
Yeah.
still a coward. Kalidas and Thought-Knot Seer are into the red zone right now. 3-4 and a 4-4. So here's an interesting little thing about this deck, right? Where you're trying to get to 50. So do you want to take a hit here?
Well, the problem is that chump blocking in the face of Kalidas is
It's not great.
a little shaky.
Yeah.
And Scherer can also, again, with the equipment he has in play, I mean, you laugh, but he can kind of hang back on defense next turn if he doesn't find anything better to do with his mana.
Put the shields up, as
Yeah,
they
yeah.
say. There are 2 shields on the battlefield. Hello.
Yeah, you put the shields. This is what you do. You put the shields on the 1-4 and the 1-3. You put the bone saw on the other 1-3. Start attacking with that one. Little offense, defense.
I see what's going on here. Grasp of Darkness, it will take care of the Contraband Kingpin. So we'll have a zombie on the way here for Christopher. And the Contraband Kingpin has been exiled. Caleb will draw a Prophetic Prism. We want to see magic. We want to see fireworks.
I want to see the equipment go on these creatures.
Okay,
That's
I want.
that's
So
what I'm
we
waiting
want to.
for.
We want to see different things.
Yeah.
You just want a smooth equip, and I want to see him go off.
Now, do you put both the shields on one,
Ooh,
or
tough.
do you put a shield on each?
That's tough.
It is
to
tough.
figure out. Yeah. Only Caleb knows.
Right. We haven't even gotten to the point of the game where we need the storm counter. We're just
That's
talking
true.
about where the equipment's going.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, in this, you look spectacular. Your next round of picks have been
He's going to start by cracking the Metal Spinner's puzzle knots, which means he gets to lose a life and draw a card. Aether Hub, the draw. Haven't played a land yet. Hubble grants some energy, of course. That's a land.
A mana fixer and also something that synergizes very well with the Marvel in a game that's going to go on for this long.
Very true.
There we go.
You wanted it. You got it.
There we go.
The equip has happened.
the Glint Nest Crane. I always want to say Gilt Leaf Druid, but the Glint Nest Crane is now wearing a Cathar shield.
There
and
we
now
go.
the other
There we
crane
go.
is ready to saw.
Bone saw's ready. So now you got the 1/3, the 1/6 rather, that checks the larger threats in play. Now you got a 2/3 on defense that locks down the zombie.
Ooh, hello. That's just good equipping.
Even if you sacrifice onto the Kalitas only 5 power against 6 toughness on the other end. Scherer, Stormmaster, also Combat Master.
This is a master class
yeah.
in equipping creatures. Would you call this Plan B? Plan C?
We are not even, this is not even a plan yet. We're still waiting for the foundation of a plan to occur.
Well, here come the knuckleheads from Christopher Weidinger. That Pilgrim's Eye still looks like it wants to hang back on defense, but everything else into the red zone. Scherer will put the 2/3 Glint Nest Crane onto the zombie. And now the other one that's wearing the Cathar shield on the Thought-Knot Seer.
I like this block forces Weidinger to use his turn, moving the zombie over to Kalitas or lose the zombie for nothing.
Okay.
Great block.
Patrick very pro this block. Oh, we have some mana being tapped. Perhaps a Grasp of Darkness on the way? Christopher not too sure just yet. Maybe a little miffed at what's going on here on the other side of the table. All right, here's Grasp. So another zombie on the way.
Not a huge fan of that use of Grasp post-block, if that was the plan anyway, since Scheer's almost certainly committing the 2/3 to the zombie on that turn. Especially with Weidinger missing a land drop the previous turn. Just too juicy for Scherer to try to get Weidinger to use up his whole turn, engaging in combat and not making a whole lot of headway.
Well, Scherer's drawn a couple copies of Prophetic Prism, so I think it's time to at least play one of these, unless he's got something else in mind. I'm sure he does want to be able to set up the ability. I think he wants to have the ability to play Prophetic Prism and chain into maybe a Crush of Tentacles.
Yeah.
And it looks like actually the second card that he drew there, was a Aetherflux Reservoir. I guess this gets better in multiples. Right?
Let's go with that.
Yeah. That true, maybe? So gain a life? Let's take a look at the Aetherflux Reservoir again. Whenever you cast a spell, you gain a life for each spell you've cast this turn. All right. All right, so here's a Prism. Trigger Mania. Draw. Puzzle Knot. Oh, yeah. Light him up for one in the air. Love that.
Well, you know, he's got to prevent Weidinger from going above 50.
It's true.
He's got Kalitas in play, I don't know.
Well, in theory, he's going to have to go above 51.
Right.
We're going over to Chris. He's untapping. And the moment here, he is drawing a Concealed Courtyard that will be entering the battlefield tapped here if he decides to play it.
I believe on the balance, this land will be better than Caves of Koilos for black-white control and standard, but not in this spot.
Maybe yes, maybe no. Caves of Kolos did promote that kind of Eldrazi sideboard plan.
That is true.
Yeah, with Thought-Knot Seer and Eldrazi Displacer, which you kind of lose now.
Well, Aether Hub can replace, not as well as Caves of Koilos, but Aether Hub can slot in if you want to do that sort of thing.
Also, Caves always enter the battlefield untapped.
Yep.
Where Concealed Courtyard does not. So there are definitely some trade-offs there. No one's arguing that Concealed Courtyard is a poor card. It's very good, of course. Oh, Liliana is going to minus on the Crane. Excuse me, plus to minus the Crane. And now here comes the beatdowns. Even old Pilgrim's Eye. Hello. Coming in. Looks like Caleb is going to take a bunch of damage. That's Chris's turn. Scherer will draw. Ooh, the saw. Bzzz.
Well, what this is, it is not great, but at least what that means is he can always crush if he can afford to hang back with this.
Gain some life, draw a card. Hiya.
that a tune with Ether? Yep, a tune with Ether. It's an energy provider. Think he's going to sacrifice the Puzzle Knot, perhaps?
I'm not a huge fan of sacking now. My preference, if I'm sure, is just try to go into my turn with as much mana and as many cards in hand as possible for crush considerations and also for life gain considerations. So I'm
Okay.
not looking to spread out a few spells each turn. I'm trying to do one big turn.
All right, he found Paradoxical Outcome, which puts him like through the roof next turn, if he gets to next turn. Here's a tune with Ether. Gonna search up a basic, get 2 energy. There's a forest. All right, all right, all right. Another spell to be played because of the triggers. He's going to gain so much life.
And he
now.
can afford to do all this because he has the outcome for next turn.
Assuming he doesn't lose the outcome. Oh, yeah. Suit him up. Double saw.
Bone Saw's ready.
That's Vigilance. It's a free attack.
Yeah, just think about
Yes.
Liliana or Weidinger, you know? Tough
He
calls.
says go to you.
Yep.
Think about that. I don't care about Liliana.
And sure gained a lot of life that turn.
Yeah, he did. He could probably just take the entire swing back if he wanted to. Weidinger will draw. Picked up a copy Aether Hub. Play that. Get an energy. Archangel Avacyn in hand. I think a Displacer. This is Noxious Gearhulk. Bye-bye, Crane. And a zombie. Now, the Gearhulk, previewed by Luis Scott Vargas over at channelfireball.com, it's a 5/4, enters the battlefield. You may destroy another target creature. If a creature is destroyed that way, you gain life equal to its toughness. Thanks, Cathara Shield, for all that they're tough.
You fool.
Just a classic error.
Man, week 1 of Standard is so sweet.
Isn't it good?
Yeah.
Isn't it good? All right, brace for impact. If this turn isn't it, I don't know what is. This feels like the turn. I think he may have drawn another reservoir, but I'm not sure that matters. I think it's time for a paradoxical outcome here, folks.
But then what?
Well, he gets all those cards. What do you mean, then what?
But he doesn't have that much. I guess because he has so many zeros he can get out of this turn.
He just grabbed his own storm counter. I think he's
Okay.
got some big plans
Okay.
here.
I was going to say, I don't know if he had enough mana to do everything.
Yeah, with 2 reservoirs, he has to cast 6 spells.
Okay.
1, 2, so let's see. Return any number.
Oh,
of
excuse me. I thought this was all. I did not know it was any number. I thought he had to pick up everything.
No.
Oh, this is really good then. Never
Yeah.
mind. Okay.
yeah, the
Now
reservoirs
we're doing
stay.
it.
Yeah.
Now we're doing it. All right, Weidinger's dead this turn, almost certainly.
Also, he gets to draw 6 cards.
yeah, this is exciting. What a time to be alive, huh?
I found a little crush strategy. Saw you. Storm 2. This is great that Caleb gets to use his own counter too. Saw you.
Yeah, I thought it was all, and then I don't know how he picks up and then recasts everything, but
Yeah.
if he can choose to leave these behind, then it's trivial.
Yep, the shield. Another 2 shields, 2
And these are now it's like 10, 12.
Yep.
You know,
Prism you.
this is exciting.
Gain a lot. I think he goes to 49 now. Yeah, and then Hadouken!
Hoodalally.
You are dead!
That was awesome.
Caleb Scherer going to win game number 1 here over Christopher Weidinger. As 4-color Aetherflux Reservoir is up a game here over Black-White Eldrazi.
Sweet.
That was sweet.
That was sweet.
You did say coming in that if his deck is good, this is a good matchup.
I mean, his blockers were relevant. The clock on the other side of the table wasn't that fast. There was very little disruption, just a thought not seer.
But what
But-
happens when the opponent has more stuff, like Weidinger does, with the 2 Fragmentize, 2 Gideon Allies Zendikar, 2 Fumigates, 1 Transgress the Mind, a Ruinous Path, 2 Lost Legacy, 2 Gonti, Lord of Luxury, 2 Reality Smasher, and an Anguish Unmaking.
Anguish I'm making, the 2 Reality Smashers, speed up the clock a little here. I think the Contis are going to be pretty sweet in this matchup also, and the 1 copy of Transgress. Just more pressure, more disruption.
I want Fragmentize as well. Kill an artifact, 1 mana, kill an artifact 4 or less.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
want that
yes,
thing.
definitely.
In a big way. Caleb Scherer, 4 Radiant Flames, 3 Lost Legacy, 3 Dispel, 3 Invasive Surgery, a Contraband King, and a Mountain, huh? I guess Mountain goes with Radiant Flames. Okay. that
Right, he
makes
can
sense.
tutor for the land.
Okay,
and
sure.
He's got a Traverse the Uvenwald as well as the other land searcher. So, how do you feel about same 60?
Okay, I don't want Radiant Flames. I don't really care for Lost Legacy. Dispel Black-White is typically a sorcery deck. Invasive Surgery, counter sorcery, so I might want that. I might want maybe.
Right.
So that's a hard maybe on Invasive Surgery. Maybe another copy of Contraband Kingpin?
I mean, it's fine. It's not sized all that well in the matchup.
Yeah?
Yeah, you could bring in the. I guess if you wanted to.
I mean, it's not exciting.
Right.
That's for
but
sure.
I'm very. If I'm in Scherer spot, I'm very close to just same 60.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, Caleb Scherer currently up a game here. These two players will shuffle up for game number 2. We are going to go over the Season 3 schedule here on the SCG Tour. It's not a very long season, as you do know at home. We started in New Jersey, where Liam Lonergan did win our Season 2 Invitational, so congratulations to him and his elf token. Then we went to Richmond, where Ted Felicetti did win there with Bant Company. Final weekend for that deck to put up a big performance. Orlando. After that, we saw Brad Carpenter finally win his first SCG Tour Open with Infect. Now we're here in Indy, and then we take a week off. And hey, how about a little regionals in 2 weeks?
Yeah, October 15th, you can head over to go.starcitygames.com/regional and find the regional championships closest to you. After that, we go to Milwaukee for a Modern Open, then Baltimore, Columbus, and Knoxville for Legacy, Modern, and Standard through the month of November, and then the Season 3 Invitational in Atlanta, Georgia, December 2nd through the 4th, Standard and Modern as the Invitational formats.
We're talking playmats. Of course, when you do enter any of our Opens or Classics, you'll get a playmat just for entering. So if you do want to play a little standard action like our players today, Dark Salvation is the playmat you'll walk away with. If you like Modern, like so many do, it'll be Steel Overseer. Everyone got that in Orlando. And for Legacy action in Baltimore, a little bit later here, if you play in the main event, you will get the Sensei's Divining Top. Again, any Opens or Classics for the format, you'll get the corresponding playmat here during Season 3 of the SCG Tour. As they get ready here for game number 2 between Caleb Scherer and Christopher Weidinger, we got to see the Reservoir do its thing.
Yes.
I enjoyed that thoroughly. Just a big fireball. I never really considered this to be an option for Standard. This is kind of interesting. If things are kind of dirtily, I guess, for lack of a better term, players are just kind of mid-ranging around, I think this might be a good place to be. The question is, how do you hold up to maybe some aggressive strategy?
Well, I think that's where you're leaning on things like Contraband Kingpin and your Glintless Crane, your Crush of Tentacles.
Yeah.
You need that sort of stuff to slow down the tide against the beatdown decks. But you can see against a mid-range strategy here, he's able to gain a lot of life along the way. What he's doing is not very easy for Weidinger to interact with. And when he's ready to go, there's no counter spell coming out of the other side. Everything that Weidinger is doing is at sorcery speed, so it's very easy for Caleb to just let it rip when he draws the right card.
Attune with Aether is exactly what Caleb will play, thanks to that very beautiful Blooming Marsh.
It's also got to be nice for Scherer's deck here is he gains some energy along the way, just kind of incidentally. If he can get to a spot where his Marvel is ready to go the turn he casts it, he can probably let it rip from there in a lot of his spots too.
Prophetic Prism here for Caleb. He'll draw a card, pass the turn back over to Weidinger. Weidinger's got land number 3. There's a hub. Little energy here for him. This, oh, hello. All right, Lost Legacy. Let's take a look at this card. Now, I have a feeling I know what it's naming, but you get to name a non-artifact, non-land card. Search target player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number. Yeah, he's going to name Paradoxical Outcome because this prevents Caleb from really going nuts. So you get to search target player's graveyard, hand, and library for any number of cards with the name and exile them. That player shuffles his or her library, then draws a card for each card exiled from hand.
Right.
This way. That's important to note. So if you nab one in your opponent's hand, they get to draw a card.
So they want to do the cranial extraction thing, but they don't want to do the, you happen to have 3 copies in your hand and I knew about this and now you basically lose the game for that reason and not because I stripped out your best card.
It's also worth noting that it is non-artifact. Normally we just see this be able to name generally anything, this type of effect. So being non-artifact means that he cannot name Aetherflux Reservoir.
Pretty common in the first sets of blocks where, R&D wants to give breathing space for the new mechanics. It's like, let's let the artifacts that people build around be good for a little while.
Yep. Set
2 will probably have a lot more Octabi orangutans and other anti-artifact measures, but for the first set, just let people do their thing.
So that's the first copy of Lost Legacy that we've got to see here. I think going to be a pretty normal sideboard card for people.
I mean, certainly if decks like Scheer's are popular,
Yeah.
then forget about it.
You know, Infinite Obliteration saw plenty of play. Not in large numbers, but enough for it to matter. I think you'll see the same thing for Lost Legacy.
These cards typically show up when decks are fairly extreme. We saw the Eldrazi deck from last season where, you know, they have maybe 1 or 2 cards they can win the game with. And definitely Scheer's deck is leaning very heavily on a small class of cards.
Caleb with another copy, I believe a copy of Aether Hub. Pass the turn back. Though I'm not sure if he got the energy from the hub or not. He'll draw a card. I think, yeah, he missed the trigger. Should have 3 energy. He's going to play this hub. All right, now he's up to 3 energy. This, you can see hub, it says you get an energy. So I'm not sure if there's a trigger to be missed there or not, because you saw Christopher immediately just say, like, you should have 4, not 3, and both players, I guess, agree.
So now Scheer's got to try. Now that Scherer has played this, I guess he has to go manual style this game.
We call it hard mode.
Hard mode?
Hard mode. Chris, just so that you guys are aware at home, Chris pointed out the fact that he didn't get the energy and said you can just have it.
Yep.
So some good sportsmanship there. Is this super hard mode? Is this normal hard mode?
Normal hard.
Normal hard? Okay. There's Blighted Fen. Reality Smash. All right, here's the clock. And for 5, Scherer going to fall down to 15. Caleb will draw the shield. Let's see what we have here. Traverse. Gain a life. Spin in the wheels. Basic island. So here's what I think. I think when you don't have paradoxical outcome anymore, I think you need the second reservoir to be able to do this thing. I don't know if you can do it with just one. It seems really tough. Let's see what this is going to be. Crane.
My count is 7 spells if your opponent's at 20. I could be.
7 spells?
I think.
Okay. Ooh, the Crane, the whiff.
Oh, sorry, if you're at 20, rather, not your
Oh,
opponent.
if you're at 20.
Right,
Oh, sure,
right.
sure, because you have to gain. Yeah, I got you.
Right.
You have to gain the life to be able to deal 50. Puzzle knot. Gain 3, then lose 1, so gain 2 overall, draw a card. So Caleb back to 20. Crane whiffing is brutal.
Yes.
That is brutal. That's something you just can't have happen.
No, sorry, 8.
8 spells?
8.
Okay.
21 to 23 to 26 to 30 to 35 to 41 to 48, and then 50 beyond is the 8th.
Okay. All right.
But I'm also not great at math. That could totally, it could be, if it was 4 or 15, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm just telling you what my count is.
It could be anything. Some realities will be smashed here momentarily. I think Caleb's still thinking about his turn a little bit here because so this deck is just wonky because like you have to play a weird balance, right? Of all right, I have Cathar Shields and Bone Saws. Is it time to just like kind of shove on those, especially when I don't have any more copies of Paradoxical Outcome in my deck? And it looks like his answer is yes. I'm going to shove on these as best I can now, but also leaving a Bone Saw behind because he does have Crush in his hand.
Right. Trying to thread the needle here. It's kind of a freebie for him to do it like this, right? As long as he keeps the Bone Saw and the Crush back in hand, he's picking up everything anyway. So he can get all of his triggers this turn and then recast the Marvel the turn after the Crush and then dump all the 0s and 1s. So he needs to keep 1 back, but the rest of it he can just go with. This will be the Reservoir.
Yep. Three mana for Chris. What do we have? Ruinous Path.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah. All right, that Crane is that. It's not just dead; it's very dead. Smasher.
And I think Scheer's got the line here of crush this turn and go back the next turn and finish the game off.
Maybe reset up.
Yep.
Ooh, that's Mindbender's
Oh, that's
pretty good.
Really bad news.
Yeah. Distended Mindbender is going to come in going to emerge, take Crush of Tentacles and the Crane, leaving Caleb with a Bone Saw. Not a great thing to be left over with.
Although, Scherer does have a lot of time, and if he finds a Crush of Tentacles, he's right back in the same spot.
Mm-hmm. Puzzle Knot, Trigger, gain a life, lose a lot from the Puzzle Knot. Traverse, I believe.
You know, he's got a lot of time. He's got a lot of draw steps. He's going to be able to find more cards,
Nice.
like in this fashion.
Yep, sacrifice the Puzzle Knot.
Gains life along the way because of the Marvel,
Yep.
or the Reservoir, rather.
And we're passing. Weidinger will draw. Slow roll himself a little bit. Looks like he does have a copy of Thought Knot Seer in hand. And now's about as good a time as any to cast that one. Caleb has a Traverse the Open Wall, a Prophetic Prism, and a Bone Saw. Prism down. That is exiled. Beatdowns for 5. Scherer will fall down to 18. It's time to untap and draw for number 8 on the SCG Tour Player of the Year leaderboard. Nothing like ripping a Cathar Shield to really get you going.
Unless you put those cards in his deck. Sometimes you draw them.
It's true. I'm trying to think of if this deck could have some sort of like sweet thing to traverse for.
Things are getting a little bit more complicated now with the Thought Knot Seer on Weidinger's line, because Scherer's path of find Crush of Tentacles, do that, and go the next turn is much harder now, because Weidinger will get the Thought Knot Seer back, get the Reservoir out of hand, and then Scherer's leftovers are not very good right now.
How dare you talk about those cards like that?
If he finds a creature, I guess it's pretty good, because he
Yeah.
can make it a 1/11 or whatever. That's not bad.
Vigilance, don't forget
Yeah,
that.
Vigilance
Yeah.
also.
Here's Transgress the Mind. Yeah, no. That's not going to hit.
Only unders. Yeah. We're playing with only the unders here, no overs.
So why did you going to miss with the Traverse? Shambling Vent looks like it will be animated, and here come the Knuckleheads. 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11. Caleb with no blocks. He's going to fall down to 6. Chris going to go up to 22. And now the draw. It is the Crush.
All right, well, that's what we needed. Now with Thought Knot Seer, it's not clear it's good enough.
I have to imagine Caleb has Delirium. There's Artifact. There's a creature. There's a sorcery.
I'm not positive.
Yeah, is there an instant or a land in the bin? Okay, well, we've been told that. Caleb said it's basically impossible for him to get Delirium.
Okay.
Yeah, he has one instant and paradoxical outcome.
And that's usually winning the game if he's casting
Yeah,
it.
that's correct. That's correct. There's the saw is ready. The shield is ready. Doing all of this because he's going to get the life from the reservoir. Play a land. It's just a little crush. So he'll gain some life. Everything is going to come on back. There'll be a Thought Knot Seer trigger 2. So I believe Caleb should be drawing a card from the Thought Knot Seer trigger, which his opponent does have to remind him of.
Mm-hmm.
So we do want to make sure that that happens. Okay, so they are aware of it. No, apparently he does have Delirium. Okay. And he draws from the Thought Knot Seer. Okay. He's already played a land for the turn with the Forest. Oh, excuse me. No Delirium Crush. No, Surge.
The
My
Bone
fault.
Saw.
My fault.
The Bone Saw. There's a
My
lot
fault.
lot going on.
Yeah, my
lot
fault.
going on in this game. So the upshot here for Scherer is Weidinger kind of has to play Thought Knot Seer this turn to avoid dying.
I would say that's accurate.
And Scherer gets in at least one good hit if he wants it.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's not clear Weidinger can... You could probably race an 8-8 from this spot, but it's not totally clear.
The Pilgrim's Eye.
All right, now with a chump blocker like that, and given Weidinger's leftovers, most likely that's off the table. Oh, no.
Oh, did he?
Oh,
I,
no, no, no,
I
no, no,
don't,
no, no.
I don't like the way he tapped his mana.
Oh, if he tapped both of those colorless lands.
Does he have a waste to search for?
Oh, he might be just Distended Mindbendering instead.
That's reasonable.
Yep.
Okay.
The tapping still strikes me as gave us a little bit of a heart attack
Yeah.
here.
All right, he's going to go to Mindbender.
Right,
All right.
all right, this is fine.
Totally fine. Reservoir and, I don't know, flip a coin, roll a die.
Nah, probably one of the cantrips,
Yeah,
right?
probably just Prism.
Because Weidinger's still in a lot of trouble if Scherer finds another copy of the Reservoir, so...
Also, he's got to beat a 9/9 out here. I think that 9/9 should maybe get a little vigilance.
Well, 8/8, but
8/8? Okay,
yeah.
8/8, excuse me.
You know how many tentacles an octopus has? That's
8.
not an accident.
Yep. That's just good design.
Yep. Mother Nature designed that one. You get a couple on the house.
All right, here's Prism. Draw a card. The 9/9 is from Kiora, the Kraken. That's what it is.
Right.
Looks like he may have just drawn a Reservoir.
But he's got to know that he kind of has to cast it this turn
Yep.
because of the Thought Knot Seer. Can't wait a turn.
This is interesting. If he could win a game through having Lost Legacy cast, I'm interested.
Well, Crush the Tentacles gives him another...
It's a good backup plan.
Another re-up. Yep.
All right, Reservoir. And, ooh, is he going to D up?
Well,
Okay.
if his plan is to win with the Reservoir, there's not a whole lot of incentive for him to be attacking. Might as well hang back, either preserve your life total, or force Weidinger to use some of his turn casting a removal spell.
Okay, okay. So that he can keep attacking.
Right.
All right. I'm on board.
Because Caleb's own life total matters. He has to get above 50. So any damage he prevents here is meaningful.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, whatever, block.
if I didn't attack, I'm definitely blocking. All right, Grasp of Darkness is going to take care of that. Now Thought Knot's here, most likely. Yep, there's a trigger. It feels like the Crane to me. Yeah.
Yeah, the Crane is the thing most likely to yield multiple spells in a turn, and also is something the equipment can go on to block.
So is the best draw another Reservoir in this spot? I think so. Okay, so now here's a land, another hub. Caleb will get the energy so long as he remembers the trigger.
And now we're in a spot where I think Caleb needs to kind of plan on drawing a Reservoir next turn. I don't think there's a lot to be gained by casting the stuff in his hand, and just hope that he either draws another Reservoir or a Crush and can go from there.
Yeah, I don't think he's facing lethal this turn.
No, he's got a little bit of wiggle room left. Though again, these shots do matter because Scherer needs to be above 50 to make everything happen.
Looks like he might play at least one to gain a life. Go to 17, I believe, and pass that turn back over to Weidinger. All right, Weidinger's going to draw. Eldrazi Displacer.
That's a big one here.
Yeah.
Cuts off the draw step if he wants to alongside Thought Knot Seer.
Four mana. Gonti. Yeah, let's take a look at that.
Yep.
First. Hear all the old broadcast. All right. When Gonti, Lord of Luxury, enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of target opponent's library, exile one of them face down, then put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Bottom of that player's library in a random order, excuse me, not your library. For as long as that card remains exiled, you may look at it, you may cast it, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any type to cast it. So a little weird with the Aetherborn Road.
It's going to yield a lot of misses, I think. Good percentage of the time.
Most likely.
But I'm happy just to cut creature removal, and there's some high ceiling cards for Weidinger to hit as well.
Weidinger, you saw him kind of shuffling that card back and forth in his hand. It's not in your hand. It's exiled, even though it is kind of in your hand. Chris in for 9. Caleb gonna fall down to 8. And now for Weidinger, he's going to use what Lost Legacy. No more. We are all done here.
Yeah, if Weidinger names Crush of Tentacles, then there's no out for sure.
Yep. And Scherer has Lost Legacies of his own in his sideboard, so that actually ended up working a little against him. As Chris Weidinger is going to win game number 2 here over Caleb Scherer. Black, White Eldrazi and 4-color Aetherflux Reservoir. Getting ready here for game number 3 with about 9 minutes left to go.
I think Lost Legacy is a little dodgy to begin with, and now with Weidinger showing his copies of Conti, I would get those back in the board.
You want to get that out of there?
I mean, Lost Legacy is probably the worst card for Scherer's deck to be playing against, period. I don't think there's a lot of high ceiling hits on the other side of the table, and now that yours can get stolen, that's enough for me.
I feel like the plan might be legacy for legacy.
Maybe. I mean, but Scherer showed that he can almost do it, and was very close to being able to do it, even with that card removed from the deck.
True.
I don't know. I feel with decks like Scherer's, it's so much a critical mass deck. He's not very good at defending himself on the balance. It may be against 2/1s because of his creature sizes, but like 4/4s and 5/5s, he's very bad at blocking against by and large. He just needs to be as saturated as possible with the combo, and if you get hit with some Lost Legacies, you'll probably lose, but try to at least win the games where that card doesn't show up.
Well, these players are going to shuffle up here, I think, pretty quickly for game number 3. Not a lot of time left here in the feature match area for these two gentlemen. Hopefully we'll have a third entertaining game on the way. Caleb Scherer, a former Invitational champion. We have a current Invitational champion whose token is ready. It is Liam Lonergan. Not only did he win $10,000, an invite to the next Pro Tour and the Players' Championship, he also has his likeness on this particular card. It is an Elf Warrior token. And, Patrick, we can quickly go over the ways for you to go ahead and get it.
Well, anyone who participates on any of the Opens or any of the Classics, the SCG Tour during Season 3, will get one of these tokens when you register. And if you can't make it out to one of our large events, any order from Star City Games, $5 or greater will be shipped with this token for free.
Liam Lonergan, congratulations. We will see him at the Players' Championship later this year. Perhaps we'll see Caleb as well. And maybe we'll see him making his way there with this 4-color Reservoir deck. This is a wild one. Remember, we do have a deck tech with this as well. We should have that for you later in the day today to go over some of these wacky card choices and exactly how he came to this deck.
And my apologies for occasionally saying Marvel here during the round. It just looks like the deck where that would be going on, but it is not.
Aetherworks Marvel versus Aetherflux Reservoir.
Right.
Yes, they are a little confusing at times. I have to imagine we're going to see a Marvel deck here this weekend at some point. So you're just ready for that, too.
I am
That's
ready.
all that is.
Well, no, I'm not ready, but
a Shambling Fen is where Weidinger did start. For Caleb, he started with a Glintnest Crane. 2 of the new Kaladesh Fastlands. They're in Blooming Marsh and a Botanical Sanctum. Weidinger just passing the turn back. Caleb, oh yeah. Oh yeah, in for 1. Let him know. There is the Metal Spinner's Puzzle Knot.
can't miss any points with Bone Saws in the deck.
Don't leave any points on the table.
No points on the table.
No.
Trying to deal 50, your opponent gains life. You got Bone Saws. You can't be leaving points.
Weidinger's going to play Lost Legacy. I think he might be naming Paradoxical Outcome again, but we will get confirmation. It is Paradoxical Outcome. See ya. I think that's just where you have to start.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because Scherer can Crush of Tentacles, like we saw in Game 2, and still lose the game. From any sort of reasonable base, the Paradoxical Outcome is going to kill Weidinger. So that's got to be the first one you get out.
Scherer has double Reservoir in hand.
Yep. Manual style.
Yeah, and this could be manual style hard mode here. Perhaps we see that. Scherer will draw. He
picked up a copy of Invasive Surgery. You're a little late, Invasive Surgery. Here's the Aether Flux Reservoir. Weidinger will draw. Ooh, Thought-Knot's here. And he even has a colorless land to go along with it.
Yep.
Not a bad time for that.
Disruption plus clock.
Standard open competitors, that is time in the round.
Yeah, I think you got to take that other Reservoir.
Your turn, then complete
Reservoir in
5
multiples is
additional
very
turns
scary.
to the conclusion of your match.
Blooming
Once
Marsh the
again,
draw here for Caleb.
Standard open competitors, that is time.
See what comes next. Gonna sacrifice the puzzle now. Pay a life, draw a card. Hiya. Ah, yes, the Saw. There's a Blooming Marsh. And just going to pass that turn back. Over to Christopher Weidinger, we're going to go. He'll draw a card. Matter is Shaper is what he's found. Forsaken Sanctuary. And now here's an attack for 4. You can see he's already getting the Distended Mindbender ready. He's going to play another Thought-Knots here, though. And as you said it, it's Disruption plus a clock.
Exactly, and I don't think there's any big rush here for him to send Mindbender, especially as a Thought-Knot Seer for this turn. He can just run it through the Matter Reshaper 2 turns from now, and not allow Scherer to draw off the Thought-Knot Seer and keep the clock going.
The Shield was the draw. He'll play an island, will Caleb. There is the Shield. Gain a life. And now it's a real tough duck.
Yeah, I mean, his deck is leaning very heavily on a select few cards. They have been removed from his deck or hand in various fashions, and his leftovers, as you can see, not winning many standard games.
Having trouble, that's for sure. Gideon in hand now here for Christopher. Beatdowns. Good block.
Yep.
1/6.
Love it. Great block.
Follow up. Gideon. We will likely see a Night Ally on the way. There it is. Pass that turn back. Caleb will draw a forest. He'll play that forest. He's got to keep Bonesaw in his hand now. In the off chance that he does draw Crush, he'll come in for 1 to Gideon. Little peck.
It's important, though. I mean, keeping off the emblem could be a thing.
Yeah.
I think Weidinger is very likely just to make it a 5/5 regardless, but
And
not
give
a
some
whole lot.
beatdowns.
Not a whole lot to be gained by sending the point Weidinger's way, unless you just want to give him something to remember you by on the way out the door.
Weidinger has identified his Shambling Vent amongst his lands. Now I think he's taking a look and saying, can I kill you this turn if you have nothing? The answer to that question is yes. If he fires up the Shambling Vent and makes Gideon into a 5/5, Gideon is the largest creature. It would get blocked, and he would come across for exactly 11. And I think that's exactly what he's going to try to do. So here comes everybody.
My count is 10, I believe.
I count 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, actually.
Oh, yeah, 4, 8, 10, 12.
Yes,
Right,
12,
sorry.
not 11.
Yep.
My apologies. Either way, 12 is more than 11, and Christopher Weidinger is going to win this match here over Caleb Scherer. 2-1. Black-White Eldrazi will take care of the 4-color Reservoir deck, and while Game 1 was a lot of fun,